Hi, and welcome to Noble Character Crafts. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, May 28th, 2021. This is a channel all about my crafty life, and today I have several different crafts to share with you all, including crochet, knitting, cross stitch, and even a little painting. I am so happy to have you all join me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you really enjoy this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts, and you can get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. I am hosting a year-long make-along on Instagram called the Make 9 2021 Mal, and that is for you to join in the Make 9 Challenge, where you choose 9 projects that you would like to make in the year 2021. I will have a description of the make-along in the description box below for you to find out all of the details about that, so please don't hesitate to continue to join in that make-along, and thank you to everybody that has been joining in so far this year. I'm so happy to announce the winner for the free pattern that Deborah of Candy Shop Yarns generously donated to the podcast for her new beautiful Lucky Star Socks pattern. Thank you so much to everybody who entered that giveaway, and I used the YouTube random comment picker to choose a winner, and the winner is Good Enough for Oats. So congratulations to you. Please get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com, or you can direct message me on Instagram or even Etsy, whichever way is most convenient for you, and let me know your email address, and then Deborah will be able to email you that pattern. So congratulations again, and again, Deborah, thank you so very much for generously donating that pattern of yours to the podcast. I'm so excited to have a few finished objects to share with you all today. The first one I want to share is what I am wearing. I was able to finish the blue Christmas sweater that I was test knitting for Tara of A Loop Through a Loop, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. This sweater was knit from the bottom up. I will stand up in a little bit to show you a little bit better, but it was knit from the bottom up. And then in the round, it was knit in the round. Well, the bottom hem is a split hem. So that was knit in pieces, but then you join in the round and knit up. Last time I recorded an episode, I was in this golden stripe, but almost done with it, I believe. So I didn't have much further to go before I separated for the sleeves. And then the front and back pieces are knit separately. I did a 3 needle bind off for the shoulder seams, and you're supposed to do it with the seam exposed, so it gives a bit of a ridge here. I can't remember if I've ever done a 3 needle bind off before or not. If I have, it's been a really long time ago, but it's really not a difficult technique to do. I just looked up a Very Pink Knits tutorial to learn how to do that, or remind myself how to do that, because I do think I did that once, but quite a long time ago. As you can see, the neckline is a rolled neckline, so you actually go back in and pick up stitches, but then just knit a little bit of length and then bind off again. I didn't have to, when I first bound off the neckline, it was too tight. I tried to bind off loosely, but I just did a regular bind off, and it was too tight. I could not get the sweater over my head, so I had to rip that out and then do a stretchy bind off. Again, I used a Very Pink Knits tutorial for that, which is a ribbed bind off, but this is not ribbed, obviously, but you use the same technique where basically you knit 2 stitches and then you knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop in order to bind off in that way. That's what makes the stretchy bind off, but I will link to both the 3 needle bind off and the stretchy bind off in the description box below if you're interested. Then I went in and picked up stitches for the sleeves. I was a little bit worried that the sleeves were going to be too tight. I'm not sure why I thought that, but I just thought they were. I don't have skinny arms, and so I just thought I needed to have more room in the sleeves. And Tara has a recommended number of stitches to pick up for each size, of course. But then she also says you can calculate your own number of stitches by measuring your arm and doing a calculation with your gauge to figure out how many stitches to pick up. I tried that at first and it had me picking up over 30, well, almost 30 more stitches than what is recommended for my size, which seemed like a lot, but I was like, well, I'm just gonna try this. So I did. I tried that, and that was 105 stitches that I picked up for the sleeve, but it was way too baggy and it was not laying nicely at all. And so I decided to rip that out and just pick up the recommended number of stitches for the sleeve, and that fits really nicely. The original pattern has full length sleeves, but as you can see, I decided to just do just above the elbow length, and I just think that's a really nice length so that this can be more of a summery top. The yarn that I used is Knit Picks Comfy Fingering, which is 75% Pima cotton, 25% acrylic, and the colors that I used are white and honey. And I really am so happy with how this yarn feels as a garment. It just really makes a nice, comfortable garment, especially for the warmer months. So I'm super excited about that. The ribbing is just 2x2 ribbing, and again, I did the stretchy bind off for the end of the ribbing as well. So it's kind of an interesting construction, I think, just because I don't think I've ever done, I'm pretty sure I've never done a sweater in this construction where you knit the body from the bottom up and then you knit the sleeves from the top down. So anyway, kind of a fun way to do that. Oh, there's also some short row shaping both in the front and the back. So that went well. She uses German short rows, so that worked well and makes a nice shaping around the neckline. So yeah, I'm super happy with it. I ended up using 3 skeins of each of the colors. I barely needed the third skein of the honey color, but I used 3 skeins of the white, because I used that for all of the ribbing and everything. So there was just more of the white being used. I knit the 3rd size, and also for the body, I knit until the body measured 13 inches. She gives you a bit of a range of how much you can knit to get the right length. I think she recommends between 13 to 15 inches before you split for the sleeves, and I knit until 13 inches and then split for the sleeves. I think that is all that I want to say about this before I stand up to show you how it looks on. So here you can see how it fits on. I'm really happy with how it fits and where it sits on my waistline here. Oh, it has a split hem, and I didn't show you the detail on the side here very well. So here you can kind of see that it has a neat detail along the side seams. And yeah, I just am really happy with it. Turn around so you can see the back. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get a lot of use out of this during the warmer months, and be able to slip it on if I'm in a chilly, air-conditioned building or something like that. I have another finished object that I have to share with you, but I am afraid that it's going to be pretty difficult to show you, but it's below me here at my feet. You might be able to tell that I'm struggling to maneuver around it. So last time I recorded an episode, I was working on a floor poof that I was crocheting to be used in our family room, and I finished it, but it's pretty big and super heavy. So I'm going to try to pick it up now to show you. I should weigh this thing. It's so heavy. Oh my word. Okay. But it's done and I'm really happy with it. So I made up my own pattern for this floor cushion, and I just crocheted a circle. You can see here's my seam where I joined the circle. But I just made a huge circle until I was up to 180 stitches in the round. And then I stopped increasing. Oh, and I did this all in half double crochet US terms. And then I stopped increasing and just knit the sides for 9 rounds on the first half. And then I put the first piece aside and I did a second piece to match the first piece exactly. And then, except that on the second piece, for some reason I ran out of yarn a little bit sooner and I didn't have enough to do 9 rounds on the sides. I only had enough to do 8 rounds. But I just didn't, you know, I wasn't too worried about that. I figured it would be fine, and it is. It's not that noticeable. But anyway, then I seamed the 2 pieces together here with a mattress stitch. So here's a look at it. I'm going to talk about it a little more, but I can't hold it up because it's super heavy. So I'm going to put it down now, but there's an idea of what it looks like. I'll insert a picture of it in our living room as well. It's a workout, just pick that thing up. So the yarn that I used is Bernat Blanket by Yarnspirations in the Taupe colorway. It is a super bulky weight yarn and it is 100% polyester. I used an N 9mm crochet hook, and I started with just a simple circle. I started with 12 half double crochet stitches and then increased every round. I think that it's pretty easy to find a simple tutorial on YouTube or a pattern somewhere on the internet that shows how to make a crochet circle, but every round you just increase by you just increase every round, and you like disperse those increases by 1 more stitch every round. I explained a little bit more last time I recorded, but hopefully you will be able to, if you want to make something similar, hopefully you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. If you want more information on how I did it exactly, let me know. I'll try to explain it a little more clearly. But I think that is pretty much it for how I made it. Simple circle, stopped increasing to do the sides, and made 2 pieces pretty much matching, except one piece had 1 less round around the edges than the other did. Okay, the way that I stuffed it, that was the thing that I was a little bit worried about and unsure about how it was going to work out, and it was pretty challenging. So I was planning to use this super large king-sized, but like extra king-sized. If I put it on our king-size bed here beside me, it would like go all the way to the floor on all the sides. It's an enormous king-sized comforter. It wasn't super thick, it was pretty thin. Well, I mean, it's kind of a medium weight. I don't know. It was probably about less than 1 inch thick, but not one of those really poofy comforters, but not super, super thin either. Anyway, I was planning on using that to stuff this poof, and I was questioning whether it was going to be too big. I figured that once I was planning to roll it up into a cylindrical shape of some sort, you know, to fill up the poof, but I was thinking this might be too big because it was just such a huge blanket. So I laid it out flat and rolled it so that it was about, I didn't measure it, but about maybe 14 inches, 16 inches maybe wide, and it was just a long, skinny blanket. You know, I had just rolled it so that it was that length, and, you know, does that make sense? Like rolled it horizontally until it was about 16 inches wide. And then I rolled it up like a cinnamon roll, and really as tightly as I could because I wanted the poof to be, you know, solid. Once I did that, it only made a circular shape that was about this big. So it was definitely not going to fill up the poof, and I was so shocked that it made such a tiny amount once it was rolled up like that. So I had to find more things to put into it, which I had, like I had mentioned, I had saved a couple of old pillows that I was planning on putting in it as well. So I unrolled that blanket and I started with the 2 pillows that I had saved that were old pillows that were like really, really flat from being used for so long, but you know, they were clean and you know, they were fine. They just weren't really comfortable to be used as pillows anymore. So I rolled those up together into kind of a roll, you know, and then put that king size blanket around those two pillows. It still wasn't big enough. So I got another old king size blanket that I had and did the same thing with that. That still wasn't enough to fill up this poof. I had an old queen sized mattress pad, rolled that up with it. Still not quite enough. I still had a little bit of space around one of the sides around the side that I kind of needed just to have a little bit of space filled in. And so I grabbed another old throw sized blanket and put that in there as well. So 2 pillows, 2 king size blankets, a queen size mattress pad, and a throw are what took to fill up that poof, which explains why it's so heavy, because there's so much in it. But it's a nice dense pillow or poof. So it, you know, can hold a lot of weight, I guess. And our kids just absolutely love it. It's in our living room and they use it as a seat. They use it as a pillow. They jump on it. They roll around on it. They roll it around. I mean, they have just used and abused it so much already and they really love it. So I guess that's good. I think that since it's made with 100% polyester, I'm hoping that it will hold up. I am a little bit concerned about washing it because, you know, I am probably going to need to wash it at some point because it's being used so much. And since I did a mattress stitch, I guess I would just need to undo it all in order to wash it. I mean, I can hand wash it, of course, but eventually it's probably going to need to be thrown in like machine washed, as well as all of the blankets that are stuffed inside of it, which will be a big pain, I know, but I hadn't really thought about that aspect of washing it until I was all done with it. And I was like, how am I ever going to clean this thing? I hope I don't spill anything on it. We don't eat in our living room at all. Well, my husband and I do sometimes, but the kids do not ever eat in the living room. So hopefully we're safe from any food getting on it, but I don't know. We'll see how it holds up. But so far, it's being well loved and well used and very much enjoyed by everyone in our family. So that's good. It was a success, I feel like. And that was the 5th item off of my personal Make 9 list. So I have 2 Make 9 boards and I have completed 5 items from each of those boards. One is a gift list and one is a list of things that I want personally. So yeah, I'm super happy with how that turned out. I did change the pattern. I was originally going to be making a knitted floor poof and it wasn't working out for me to knit with that yarn that I used. It was just really difficult for me to knit with it. So that's why I decided to crochet it. And I just ended up doing my own thing and making up my own pattern for that. But I'm super happy with how it turned out. So it was a success. Okay, I know that this episode is going to be super long because I'm already quite a few minutes in, and I have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 works in progress. That's crazy, right? So you might need to do this, watch this podcast in segments because I'm afraid it's going to be really long. But I thought about just only showing you a few things, but I thought, what the heck? I love seeing everybody else's whips. That's what you probably are tuning in for, is to see the different things I'm working on. So I hope that you enjoy seeing everything. My first work in progress is in this Me Made Scrappy project bag. And in here is another one of my personal projects from my Make 9 board. This is a free pattern by Emma Potter of Potter and Bloom. And it is her Miley Hexagon motif. I started this, well, I am making this into a shawl. I started this project though intending to make this into a blanket, but just changed my mind and wanted to make it into a shawl instead. I am using DK weight yarn for this shawl. The original pattern that she uses fingering weight yarn, but with crochet patterns, it's pretty easy to modify the weight of yarn that you use as long as you just switch up the hook accordingly. So I'm using an H5mm hook for this project. And I'm using scraps of yarn for the first round of this motif. And then the second and third rounds are made using bare DK weight yarn. And that is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon blend. And I am joining as I go as Emma goes over. She has both a YouTube tutorial and it's also on her blog, the pattern for this. And it uses quite a few, the majority of the stitches that you use are triple crochet. So yeah, triple crochet stitches. So I am really enjoying how this is working up so far. Last time I recorded, I was in the middle of making this hexagon right here. This adorable progress keeper is one that my cousin Allie made for me. It's a cute little donut with sprinkles on it. I love it so much. Thanks again, Allie, for making that for me. I love it and have used it ever since you gave it to me. So I was on that hexagon and I added along here, no wait, let me see. I added along here, ooh, can I tell? It's kind of hard for me to tell. Oh, I know, I'm sorry. Okay, I added these three right here, and then I added another row to the outside here, another 6 hexagons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I did the same thing. I mirrored that on this side. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hexies. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along the edges here. That's what I've added since the last time I showed this off to you. So I'm just in the process of trying to make this into kind of a crescent shape shawl. And I'm just going to continue to add on pieces on either side until I get to the right shape. So right now it's it's already a pretty good size, but I want it to kind of taper off at the edges so that it's easy to wrap around, because right now, of course, I can't really wrap it around very easily, you know, to wear it more of a wraparound shawl type of thing. So I'm going to just continue to add onto it until it's the size and shape that I want. But I'm really enjoying this project so much. My next work in progress is being held in this cute project bag that I got from My Creative Frenzy on Etsy. And this was one of the projects that I was thinking I don't really need to show these off because I haven't put a lot of work into them, but I will just quickly show them. This is another project from my Make 9 board, and these are the DunBroch socks by Kay Jones of Bakery Bears. Again, I'm tangled up. I was tangled up last time I showed these off. So I haven't made a ton of progress. There is a progress keeper marking where I was last time I recorded, and I was only a couple rounds into the first pattern repeat last time I showed you, and now I have done 2 pattern repeats. Now the yarn I'm using is Knit Picks Stroll Tweed in the Sequoia Heather colorway. So it's this beautiful dark green color, but unfortunately the pattern is getting a bit lost. I was afraid of that, but it's okay. But there is a bit of a cabled pattern running down both sides. It's a mirrored pattern, so you know this is the right sock and this is the left sock, and that cabledy pattern is running down the sides of each leg. It isn't actual cables, it's just twisted stitches, but it looks like cables. And then the remainder of the sock is done in a type of broken rib. I don't know what it's called exactly. I don't think she names it in the pattern. I'm using US 1 2.25 millimeter needles, and I am making the medium size, which is a 64 stitch count. I wonder, I don't think that she says what that ribbing is called. She just calls it a cozy texture. The cuffs I knit a little bit shorter than what the pattern recommends. I only did 20 rows. She recommends 29 rows so that the cuff can be folded over, but I don't want to wear mine folded over. So I just did my regular 20 rounds, or 20 rounds for the cuffs. So that's all I'm going to go over with you. Well, the yarn, I'm sorry, I should tell you the yarn is 65% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon, and 10% Donegal tweed. But I won't go into those any more than that because like you could see, I haven't put a ton of work into them. And I have a ton of more things to show you. My next project I am working on is being held in this beautiful bag that Mary Ann of Rock Islander made for me quite a few years ago. And this is a project off of my Make 9 2021 gift list. I showed this off last time, and I think I have less work done on it now than I did last time I showed you because I decided to rip it back and start over again. This is the Black Frost shawl by Melanie Rice. And last time I showed it to you on an episode, I could really clearly see when I held it up in the video that my stitches were very uneven because I was using the same size needle for both my knit stitches and my purl stitches, and I really have a hard time with my purl stitches being too loose, and so I need to change my purl needle to a smaller size. And so anyway, I had a lot of rows that were uneven. Even now, just holding it up here, I can see that my stitches aren't great. They're not perfect. It is hand knit though, but it's a lot better than it was. So I'm happy that I ripped it back and started over because I just wasn't happy with how it was turning out. So the recommended needle size are US 8 5mm needles. And so I'm using that on my knit rows. And then I switched to a US 6 4mm for my purl rows, and it is going better. So that's good. The yarn I'm using is Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn in the classic gray color, which is a worsted weight, and it is 100% acrylic. I've had this in my stash for, well, a little over about a year and a half, and wanted to use this for a gift knit since I thought it would be nice and easy to care for. I don't have an intended recipient for this shawl. I am just making it to have on hand to gift to somebody as a prayer shawl or just a nice gift for someone down the line whenever it is appropriate. So it's a super easy project at this point. It's very mindless until I get to the lace section at the end. But right now I'm just knitting and purling basically. There's just a little bit of detail here along the edges. So I don't think I'm quite as far along as I was last time I showed you. I'm not exactly sure, but that's where I am on that now. Okay, my next work in progress is being held in this wool bag that I got from my husband's aunt. And in here is one of my scrappy blankets. This is the Excavation blanket pattern, which is a free pattern by Jana Pihota. It is only available on Ravelry, but I will link to that in the description box below as well. And it is huge, as you could probably tell as I pulled it out of the bag there. Last time I recorded, I had just started, did I? I think I had just started decreasing my rows for the other side. So this blanket is made by knitting across one row and increasing every row and leaving a tail at the beginning and end of each row. I mean a tassel, like fringe. So you don't have to weave in any of your ends. I started this blanket back in 2017, I think. And I'm pretty sure that's right. I have just been adding in scraps of yarn from every fingering weight project that I have ever knitted if I have enough yarn left over from that project. So I have quite a few progress keepers on here. I went through that last time I showed this project off. Each of these markers is marking off each year that I've been adding to this. So for example, this section right here is the colors that I added in 2020. So here is a marker marking the colors that I have added in this year. So from this marker right here and up is what I've added from this year. And then this progress keeper, this rock progress keeper, that is marking the progress that I've made since I showed this off to you last time. So this red stripe that progress keeper is on was the first stripe that I did where I started decreasing my stitches. So I got to the size that I wanted it, and now instead of increasing every row, I'm decreasing every row. And instead of knitting every row, I decided to purl every row. The original pattern has you continue knitting, but then half of your blanket is showing the right side and half of the blanket is showing the wrong side. And I didn't want that. I wanted both. I wanted both halves of this blanket to show the right side. And so I am purling everything. I don't mind purling. Well, I never used to mind before I realized that I had such a tension issue. So now it's not quite as relaxing to purl because I'm always concerned about my tension. And even again, well, with this project, I went down. So I originally started this blanket on a a US 2. So I started this project on a US 2 2.75 millimeter needle, and now I am using a, well, I just don't know. I can't see it. Are my eyes going bad? I thought I could read those on the needles really easily. Maybe that one's not marked because I can read on this one. It is a 00. So it is a 1.75 millimeter needle. I'm just purling every row, and then at the end of each row, I purl 2 stitches together. So you can see this little piece right here is the other side's fringe. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that fringe yet, but I want to kind of tie a few pieces together probably. Or I'd really like to learn how to twist the fringe together. I'm not sure how that's done or if it's doable, if it's easy to do or not, but anyway. So that's my progress on that project. The rows are quite lengthy at this point, but it's such a fun and relaxing blanket to work on, really. So you can see I've added in, these are my scrappy sock colors, and here these are my lucky star sock colors, and then I've also added the colors that I put in this sweater. So I love that project so much. Oh, should I stand up so you can see it a bit better? It's kind of hard because it's scrunched up on this cable, so I won't be able to show it to you in full, but you can kind of get an idea. Well, not really. You can't really get an idea. It's so scrunched up it looks goofy, but it will eventually be a square when it's done. I didn't put it on a big enough cable to show it off better than that, so that's as good as it gets for today. So I have this huge bag. This doesn't include quite everything, but most of all of the, oh, can you see this right here? It's kind of a neat little thing that I can share with you all. Anyway, this is my bag of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn, and as you can see, I have quite a bit of it. That little packet is called Fresh Cab Botanical Rodent Repellent, and it says it's usually made to keep mice away from things, but it also can repel moths. So, and it really has a nice smell. It smells like a Christmas tree to me. So I would recommend you checking that out as a moth repellent if you're interested in something like that. They do recommend that you switch them out every month though. So, and it is a super strong smell when you first get it. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's also a nice fresh scent, you know, like a pine scent. Anyway, I just keep that in there. It's over a month old, but it's in a sealed plastic bag, so I don't know. Anyway, so I got out all of my Knit Picks Wool of the Andes yarn, and I laid it all out on my bed, and I weighed all of the different colors that I had because I really wanted to try to make a scrappy blanket using up all of the rest of my Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn. This is 100% non-superwash Peruvian Highland wool. I weighed everything, and I have a lot of different colors that are just 50 grams or less. But then I also had the colors that I had the most of. There were 6 colors that I had the most of, and they were all really dark colors. And I had enough, more than enough, to make a sweater out of. Even, for example, the color that I had the most of, I believe, was the, I'm not sure. These 2 colors are the ones that I had the most of. Bittersweet Heather and Merlot Heather. And I might have been able to make a sweater out of each of these, but I don't know for sure. It might have been close. Anyway, I started a blanket that I am so extremely super excited about making. I just really wrestle with scrappy blankets because I want it to be the perfect combination of ease and enjoyment. But for this one, I really want to use up every last bit of the wool of the Andes that I have. I wanted to make it from the center out so that I could use the smallest bits first, and then as it got bigger, I would be able to use up the colors that I have the most of. But I didn't want to just, I thought of just doing a regular granny square, and I didn't want to do that because I don't like it when the color changes mid-round. And I didn't want, you could weigh it every time and make sure that you have enough to make another round, but I didn't want to have to worry about that because that was not going to be mindless then. Then I would have to keep getting up and weighing my yarn and making sure I had enough to make a complete round so that I wouldn't have to change colors mid-round. So I was trying to find a pattern that would work where it wouldn't really matter when you changed colors. I thought of maybe a circular shape, but I really didn't want a circle blanket because that's not actually very useful, I don't think, because it's just kind of an awkward shape for a blanket. Anyway, I thought of a spiral pattern that I had seen at one time that was like a spiral where you use like 4 different colors and you work them all at the same time. And I found a pattern that had a granny stitch in that spiral shape. And I'm so excited about it. Oh, I gotta look it up so I can tell you what the pattern is. Oh, I just love it so much. Okay, let me find it. Oh, this book. I've gone over it before, but somebody asked me about it in my last episode, and so I thought I would just go over this one more time. So this is just a simple notebook that I got from Walmart several years ago. It has plain pages in it, and this is what I record all of my knitting and crocheting projects. I even put the cross stitch project in here that I started. And whenever I start a new project, I make a little page for it. So here is the information that I have for this blanket. It is called the Spiral Illusion Square by Stephanie at Crochet Instinct. CrochetInstinct.com is the name of her blog where I found the pattern. And so anyway, whenever I start a new project, I just write the name of the pattern, the designer of the pattern, the start date, I leave an end date, I write the size of the hook or needle that I'm using, I write the kind of yarn that I'm using, and then I write any notes as well. And I just record any notes that I have, any modifications that I'm making along the way. And that is just a really handy way for me to keep track of what I'm making. So I just love this blanket so much. So like I said, I weighed out all my yarn, and I've started with the first 4 colors that I have the least amount of. And I really love how these 4 colors look together, but it's not going to stay this cohesive. I've used up all of the blue that I have. So I'm going to be switching the colors using the Russian join method and just working through all of the colors that I have from least to greatest in, amounts that I have. Isn't it so fun? Now it is a bit fiddly when you first start using those 4 different colors. And I made a modification to this pattern. The original pattern, instead of doing the regular granny stitch where you do 3 double crochet stitches, The original pattern only has you doing 2, like in this round, and then doing a chain in between each stitch. But once I got to the point where, let me see if I can remember. Well, starting on row 5 of the pattern, I started doing 3 double crochet stitches without any chain stitches in between. Just because it's more mindless for me to do that stitch, and I just like the looks of it a bit better than the only 2 stitches in each cluster. But I did start off with that so that it would lay correctly, and then I switched to the 3 double crochet stitches in each cluster on row 5. So you're working all these 4 different colors at once, and then you just use a stitch marker to hold your live stitch until you switch. In the original pattern, she kind of has it even where you're working, you have a held stitch on all 4 corners, but you don't have to do it that way. You can kind of stop wherever you need to. And I just worked as far as I could until that blue ran out. And then I decided that I wanted to use up the greater amounts of yarn that I have to make a sweater. The 6 colors that I had the most of were all pretty dark colors. And I decided that I thought it would be fun to make a sweater striping those 6 colors. So I have to put this project on hold, sadly. I am so sad and I cannot wait to get back to this project. But I'm putting this on hold because I'm thinking that I might use up enough of these darker colors that I'm putting into this sweater that I'm making. Actually, it's going to be a cardigan. And I'm just going to hold off on that in case I have less of those colors and I need to plug them into this project sooner than I thought I would need to, since I'm using up a lot of them for the cardigan. Does that make sense? I might even have to rip back if I have less of the colors I'm putting into my cardigan than I did in these colors that I'm already using. I might rip back just because I really, really want to use the least to greatest amount so that it looks, I don't know, so that the colors are just evenly dispersed. Anyway, I'm using an H5mm hook for this project as well. I love it so much. I cannot wait to get back to this project, which has been a huge motivator for me to work on the cardigan that I started. So this is being held in a beautiful project bag from Tanny Casey. And I have made great progress on this because I'm so motivated to get it done so that I can get back to that project. But also this cardigan is also super fun to make. So I originally was going to make a different pattern. You might have seen that in my notes that I started a different pattern but crossed it off. And I decided to use the numbers from the pattern called Gigi by Devin Ventry of Knitty McPurly. I'm barely following her pattern, but I did use her numbers for the numbers that I started, that I cast on with. And I did her increases for the raglans. But I'm pretty loosely following her pattern. Anyway, here you can see my cardigan. Oh, I love it so much. I love the dark stripes. I just think it's so cool. So there's 6 different colors in here. They are, again, all Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted weight. I have Coal, which is just a black color. Lava Heather, which I made my son a cardigan out of earlier this year. Onyx Heather. Currant. Bittersweet Heather, which I also used in my other son's sweater, the Tin Can Knits Marshland that I made for him. That was the main color of that sweater. And then Merlot Heather. The Merlot Heather is going to be the main color for this cardigan, so I'm going to also be using the Merlot Heather for all of the ribbing. There'll be a neckband ribbing and ribbing along the sleeves and the bottom, which I have already started. So I am knitting this in the round, and here is I'm joining the color, or switching colors here in the front where I have added a steek panel. So I've added 6 extra stitches to the front center here, and I'm going to be cutting open the cardigan up the center to make it into a cardigan. One of the huge benefits of doing it in this way not only do I get to knit in the round, which is so nice, but then also all of the ends, whenever I switched colors for these stripes, I don't have to weave them in because I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be cutting open the cardigan right there. And so I don't need to weave in any of these ends. They'll just get cut off when I steek the garment. So that's really nice to not have to weave in those extra ends. I won't be able to do that on the sleeves. I will have to weave in the ends on the sleeves on the inside, but that's okay. So I've started the ribbing, but I haven't finished it. I've put it on hold because I'm not quite sure. I want the length of the ribbing to match the length of the ribbing on the sleeves, and I'm just not sure how long I want that to be. So I'm going to knit one of the sleeves and see how long I want the ribbing so that it, you know, looks nice. And then I'm going to match the bottom ribbing to the sleeve ribbing. So let's see. I increased, so I've made a lot of modifications. Like I said, I've just followed the pattern for the Gigi pattern for the number of stitches that I cast on. And I made the medium size. I'm using US 7 4.5 millimeter needles for the main body, and then I'm using a US 6 4 millimeter for the ribbing. So I only increased the yoke to 242 stitches before I divided for the sleeves. And then there are 52 stitches on each sleeve, not including the pickup stitches under the underarm. And there were 146 stitches for the body. But I say that because those are all different numbers than what Devin has in her pattern. So anyway, I just increased until it was where I wanted it. You know, I just tried it on until it fit me the way that I wanted it. This is a lot longer than what I normally knit my sweaters. It's kind of it's not a long sweater, but it's more of I would probably say more of a average length for a sweater. I typically knit my sweaters pretty cropped. So I'm kind of excited to have this longer one. I really just did that because I wanted the color stripes to, you know, I wanted to end with the Merlot heather for the ribbing. And so I wanted the color stripes not to be interrupted. And I thought it'll be a nice length, I think. A nice difference from what I'm used to anyway. I knit each stripe with 8 rounds in each color. And yeah, I'm super excited about this. I think it's just such a fun use of a bunch of different colors of dark yarn. I just think it's a cool looking sweater. I've just picked up the stitches for the first sleeve, and I haven't started working on the sleeve. I just picked up the stitches. I haven't even picked up the underarm stitches yet, but just put the stitches that were on hold on these needles. So I will get to work on the sleeve, and I'm pretty sure that will go pretty quickly. So here you can see where it's kind of fitting me around the, you know, more around the hips than what I'm used to for sweaters, but I really like the length of it. I think it's kind of cool. I didn't do any increases or decreases for the body. I've just knit completely straight. I didn't do any shaping or anything. It will fit more loosely once it's cut open and I add on the ribbed band. It won't be quite so close fitting once the band is on, but it still has, you know, some good ease in here right now. But I love it. I just want it to be a comfy, cozy sweater. So I'm super excited about this one too. Okay, my next work in progress is a cross stitch project. I am holding this in a Me Made bag. So I was watching a wonderful podcast that I love, which is the Rose Opal Knits podcast with Erica and Daphne. I absolutely love watching their episodes. And Daphne had showed that she was working on this cross stitch, which I believe that she purchased this kit after she saw that I had purchased it, and I had showed it off last year sometime, I think. I've got it at Walmart. It is by Dimensions, although you can, I believe that Erica did not buy hers at Walmart. I think she found it online, so you can get it online as well. It is called Be a Light, and the kit includes the thread, the 14 count Aida fabric, and a needle along with the instructions, of course. So it says, be a light to the world. And I just think it's so pretty. I have not done a ton of cross stitch in my life. I did a sampler. I did a Christmas alphabet type of thing. And I did one other project a long time ago, but I have not done a ton of cross stitch, but I really do enjoy it. Anyway, I just started this yesterday, so I haven't gotten very far on it. But anyway, Erica showed off that she was working on her kit, and so it really motivated me to get my kit out and get started on it as well. So this is the progress that I've made so far. It is really enjoyable and addictive, and I'm enjoying it so much. The green is just solid, but then the blue that you see here is actually 2 different colors of blue where you hold one thread of each shade of blue. So it really gives a cool dimension to the stitches. Here's the back of my work. Do people show that off ever? I don't know. It's like the floats on a colorwork project. There's the back of my work. Anyway, yeah, it's, you know, coming along well so far. It, when I thought it was going to be a bit bigger than this, but it's only a 5 by 7, I think. Well, you can kind of see, this is the fabric. So that's it. So it's not a huge project. It is pretty well fully covered with stitches though, I think. I can't quite tell, but anyway, there's a lot. The chart looks very intimidating. When I first pulled it out, it's like, whoa, there's a lot of different things to look at there. And as I said, I don't have a ton of experience with cross stitch, but anyway, I'm just going to do it little by little. Here's all the thread that comes with the kit. So really pretty colors. I'm excited for this one. I think it looks really summery, so I thought it would be fun to do it during the summer months. We'll see how long it takes me. Who knows? Hopefully I'll stay motivated and keeping up with it, because I think if I put it away, I might be super lost at where I left off. I kind of want to keep working on it a little bit day by day so that I don't lose track of where I'm at in the chart. Okay, I think I'll show off my painting. I wasn't sure if I would show this off or not because I'm such an amateur artist. But my kids love to paint, and so one day I decided just to sit down and paint with them, and I really enjoyed it. And so then I was talking to my mom about the paintings that I had done, or the little bit that I had done. I had painted some birds, and she said that she would really like to have a painting of a goldfinch to put in her summer porch area. And so I went to Walmart and I got this canvas board. Actually, I got a whole 10-pack of this canvas board. I don't remember what, I think it's 8 by 10. And they were pretty cheap. I think it was only like $10 for a pack of 10. So that was a pretty good deal, I thought. And here is the painting that I've done. I'm not done with it yet, but here it is so far. And I'm happy with how it is. I'm no professional, so don't be too critical. But here is what I have so far. I am happy with how it's turning out so far. I want to fix this ladybug because he looks a little wonky, I think. And then I have a little bee down here that I'm kind of happy with. But I want to add some more, I don't know, I kind of want to add some more depth to the picture, I think. It's nice how it is right now, but I just want to kind of fill in this empty space a little bit more. So I'm thinking I might put in some more flowers in the background, but then I'm also a little bit nervous that I'm going to ruin it. So I don't know. I really had a lot of fun with blending the paint colors though. Like in the green, I had fun blending the colors, and so it was kind of fun to work on this, and I thought I'd just show it off. I don't know. I might just leave it alone because I like it how it is right now, but I'm just not sure. So I'm not sure if this is a finished object or not, but I don't think it is. I think I want to add some more to it. But then I'm nervous I'm just going to ruin it, so I don't know. Okay, lastly, I just wanted to give a quick update on my project bags, which are taking so long for me to get done. I've been working on an update for my Etsy shop making project bags in 3 different fabrics. My project bag update has just been very, very slow going, and I just haven't had a ton of time to work on them, but I am still working on them. I'm thinking maybe a couple more weeks before I'm ready to update that. I have 2 of the 3 fabrics that I'm working on completed, but I really just want to get everything that I have ready for this update done before I update my shop. So if you'll please bear with me and be patient for that shop update, I would be so grateful. And again, if you want to be updated, please, it's best to stay tuned through my Instagram page because I always update on Instagram. Or if you don't use Instagram, or if you would like an email instead, you can let me know through my email. Just send me an email with your email address, letting me know what address you would like me to send an update to, and I will be glad to send you an email notification whenever I do update my Etsy shops. So that is all I have to share with you all today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I would appreciate that so much. I hope you all are doing very well. Take care. Bye-bye.